Welcome to Common Sense. The Common Sense program is a series of shows featuring interviews with very interesting people so that we can learn in a clear, concise, and direct way who these folks are, what they do, and what makes sense to them and what doesn't. I'm Rudy Breglia, and today I'll be interviewing the experienced, wise, courageous, and authentic Ohio Court of Appeals judge, Jill Lanzinger, who is now a candidate for Ohio's Supreme Court. Judge Lanzinger, welcome to Common Sense.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Well, thanks for your service to our community. Please start us off by telling us where you were born, where you've lived, and what brings you to this part of Ohio?
Sure. I first want to tell you that I'm judge of the 9th District Court of Appeals. Again, my name's Judge Jill Lanzinger. In my neck of the woods, people call me Judge Jill.
Okay.
I think that reflects my down-to-earth nature. And it's
like
just,
Judge Judy?
Yes, and it also is an easy thing to remember, Judge Jill rather than Judge Lanzinger or Judge Jill Lanzinger.
Okay.
I am a judge at the 9th District Court of Appeals now. That's Lorain County, Medina County, Wayne County, and Summit County. I hear appellate court cases now.
Okay.
I have been an Ohio judge for over 10 years. For over 7 of those years, I was a trial court judge, which is different than the appellate court.
Okay.
Just by way of background, I originally come from Seneca County, Ohio.
Okay.
I was born and raised in Seneca County, Ohio. That's a very rural northwestern.
We won't hold that against you.
Ohio County. I was born to a teen mom, and my mom remarried very early in my childhood, and I was raised by a step-parent mostly. My mom and my stepdad both did not complete college, and they both worked in a factory my entire life. My mom worked full-time in a factory for over 40 years before she just retired.
Okay.
They are a conservative Christian family, and I also went to college in Seneca County at Heidelberg College.
Okay.
I met my husband in college.
Wow, how nice.
Yes, I met him in college my freshman year, and we decided we were going to get married, and we wanted to both go to professional school. So he applied for medical school everywhere in Ohio and got into medical school at NeoMed, so what used to be Neo-UCOM, here in Northeast Ohio.
All right.
And so I applied for law school here in Northeast Ohio. I went to Akron U. We both moved to Northeast Ohio to complete professional school. My husband got a residency at Akron General Cleveland Clinic now. So we stayed here in Northeast Ohio so he could continue working there, and he still does work there, to raise children and our family, and we have 3 kids.
Oh, how nice.
I have a almost 22-year-old daughter who is in law school now at Akron U. So she's following in my footsteps.
Wonderful.
I have a 19-year-old son who's also at Akron U studying software development. He is on the autism spectrum, and I'll maybe talk about that a little more in this interview and our journey with that. And I have a 12-year-old son. He goes to the Green School District. I live in Green, Ohio now. That's south of Akron. So I still live here in Northeast Ohio, and we've made a family here, and that's where we live, and that's where we work, and that's where we love. Okay.
Well, that's wonderful. Tell us about your involvement with the Polar Bear Club.
Yes. So I live in Green, Ohio on the Portage Lakes. I don't know if your viewers know about the Portage Lakes, but it's a group of lakes near Green, Ohio, and we live on the lake. And we have friends on the lake who have a charity organization where every year around this time, and tomorrow's the day.
Yeah.
So this is a timely question.
Okay.
Tomorrow is the day where a lot of people from Northeast Ohio jump in the lake for money to raise money for charity. So this year, the organization that's benefiting is the food bank. It's often the food bank. So it's to feed people.
Okay.
And I got involved with that organization because I live on the Portage Lakes and because I know the founders of the organization, the Polar Bear Club. It's a 501c3, and so I was on the board for 10 years, helping organize this charitable event that we do, and it has raised millions of dollars at this point for different charities.
Okay.
And it's a great group. And really the couple I'm talking about, Heather and Kelly Paris. So Heather is also on the board of Access Shelter, which is a shelter it's a 501c3 again. It helps house women and children only who are living in poverty, and helps them get housing, and then also helps them transition into independent housing.
Wow.
So I'm going to that charity event tonight. That's Access Shelter event with her tonight, and then tomorrow going to the Polar Bear Jump and volunteering my time there because I'm still involved with that organization, even though I'm not on the board anymore on that.
Well, that sounds great. What was your toughest marathon run? I know you run in marathons.
In all honesty, I haven't run much lately. I've been very busy with my election.
I would imagine so.
But there was I ran cross country Division III in college, and then I've just been running since. So I worked my way up to marathons, and I really became obsessed with training for marathons. But the toughest marathon run that I had was Chicago. I ran the Chicago Marathon because it was so hot. It was a day in October where there's 40,000 runners, and I got corralled in a corral because I was a faster runner up front. But I was still kind of tripping over people trying to get through the course. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it got very hot, so it was very tough. But I'll just tell you about that marathon. There was someone holding a sign. It said, "Someday you won't be able to do this, but today is not that day." And I was so, with all these people around, I was teary-eyed because it's true. You're not going to be able to do a marathon your whole life, and this is the day.
True.
And even if you don't finish first, it's not about that. It's about
being in it.
It's about beating the goal and accomplishing it and being in it at that moment. So it was tough, but I made it. And my roommate from college actually ran that race with me, so it was great.
Okay, well, that sounds great. What is the Green Opiate Task Force?
Yes.
Do I have that right?
Yes. The Green Opiate Task Force was started in the city of Greene, where I live.
Okay.
At the time it was started, it was the height of the opioid epidemic. And,
right.
So it was just a way for us to get together with leaders in the city, especially the court system, to combat the epidemic by talking about things we could do in the community, the court system. At the time, around that time, in my court in 2015, I had begun a drug court at the Barberton Municipal Court. And so that's why I was brought into that group, is because I was in my court actively working on getting people some treatment through the court system at that time. Okay.
What motivated you to become an attorney? Did you have a role model?
Well, like I said, I am a first-generation college student, so I didn't have a parent or a relative as a role model. I had people who were encouraging of me,
to follow your
my
dream,
parents, to follow my dreams, and that I should go to college, and I was a bright student. I thought my strengths were public speaking, and I thought my strengths were sometimes having a contentious argument and not being afraid of that, and also writing. A big part of being a lawyer is your writing skills.
You bet.
So I thought those were my strengths. I was the president of student council and things like that.
Oh, okay.
So I decided late in my high school career that I did want to go to college to be a lawyer, and I got a lot of support from my family and really from my faith. Even though I came from a place where people didn't go to college, my mom always told me that I had a destiny, and I was born at such a time as this, and that I was more than a conqueror, and that God had His eye on me, and I believe that wholeheartedly, and I think that's an important part of my childhood.
Okay. Well, you did have a role model. You know?
I did. I did.
Did a major in psychology at Heidelberg College facilitate you helping people as an attorney?
Yeah, so I was actually pre-law, political science, and music when I first started my college journey. I had auditioned to be a music major as well. I was a vocal voice major. But I ended up changing one of my majors to psychology. So I have a degree in political science, pre-law, and psychology both from Heidelberg. And yes, those have come in very handy for my career and for campaigning. Both degrees have to do with human behavior and psychology. And really as a judge, especially as a trial judge, I spent a lot of time with people with mental health issues.
True. True.
I also read a lot of mental health reports. And there's a lot of behavior modification that has to be done in the court system. And those tools that I gained during college really were incorporated in being a judge and lawyer.
Okay, that's wonderful. Tell us about the major courts in the Ohio judicial system. What are the major courts?
Sure. So I'll start with the lowest level, that's municipal court.
Okay.
That's where I was for over 5 years. But we hear lower dollar civil cases, like some credit card debt collection things or small claims. And we also hear the misdemeanor charges. So if there's going to be a trial and there's going to be a process on the misdemeanors, that's like, driving under the influence of alcohol, simple assault, it could be, and traffic. Those are all at the municipal court. So it's about the level of the offense and the level of dollars involved with the civil cases. So,
okay.
So we just hear all of those cases. We also, all criminal cases start in the municipal court in Ohio. So we did set bonds for the felony cases, and then they would get bound over to the common pleas court for those judges to hear those cases. But they did start in the municipal court. So
okay.
we also, in addition to hearing misdemeanor cases and lower dollar civil cases, we also did the felony bonds, the initial ones.
Okay.
And, appointed lawyers and things on those cases. Common pleas court is the higher dollar cases, like the big medical malpractice cases, or cases involving a lot more money. That they also, at the common pleas court, hear all the felony cases. So they hear the higher, we in the common pleas court when I was there, we would hear have the murder cases, the burglary cases, the robbery cases, even in drug cases, those are felonies. And we're the trial court, both municipal court and common pleas court are trial courts. So we, like on TV, you watch Law & Order, there's a trial, that's what happens in common pleas court, It's the trial level. Then there's the appellate court. Now, the Supreme Court and the lower appellate courts are all considered appellate courts, meaning we don't actually hear the trials or the hearings. We review them. So if there is a murder trial or a big civil trial and the parties appeal the rulings, it goes to the appellate court, and that's us in the 9th District. So for Lorain County, it goes to my court now, 9th District Court of Appeals. And the parties make arguments of why there was an error at the trial level or somebody's rights were violated, and we decide whether that it needs to be reversed or affirmed. And then the highest appellate court is the Ohio Supreme Court. So if you don't like a lower appellate court's ruling, you would appeal that to the Ohio Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court does have original jurisdiction over certain things where they are the trial court for certain things like election matters and original actions.
Okay.
But that's a little complicated. Only for a small amount of things do they actually have what's called original jurisdiction, where they may have a hearing or may decide something originally.
Okay. Well, I think you've answered some of this, but there are different categories of judges. Trial judges, you mentioned,
right.
Visiting judges, administrative judges, presiding judges.
So visiting judges, did you want me to answer that?
Well, yeah.
So there's two types of visiting judges. There's retired visiting judges, and then there's judges that are already on the bench visiting for another court, visiting another court. As an appellate court judge now, I get assigned by the Supreme Court to sit in other courts. So I've sat at the 8th District Court of Appeals as a visiting judge, or the 6th District Court of Appeals, and I've also sat on the Ohio Supreme Court as a visiting judge.
Okay.
Say one of the judges can't hear the case because they have a conflict of interest at the Supreme Court.
Okay, so they pull you
Then
out.
The Supreme Court will call one of us, and we will become the judge on the Supreme Court. So I have served on the Supreme Court already.
Okay.
Also, there's retired judges who fill in, especially for the trial courts, when there's a conflict with one of the trial judges, and they're not active judges, but they are on a list of people who fill in.
Okay. What are drug and mental health courts?
Mm-hmm. So those are both, we call them specialty courts in Ohio. They're designed to mostly be diversionary, meaning that if there's somebody who comes to the court with a low-level, either drug type of charge, like a possession of drugs, or like a theft charge that has some type of drug component with it, like someone has a substance problem then it looks like that's involved with their theft case. Then they can go into a drug court program where they can get substance use treatment. And if they complete that treatment successfully, then they can potentially get their charges dismissed.
Okay.
And in these courts, so with drug court, we're dealing with people who have substance use disorder. And in mental health court, we're dealing with people who have some type of mental health issue that is maybe creating a behavior that is leading to criminal charges. But they're great courts to kind of identify those issues and really help people get services they need. And the whole point is for them to be out of the justice system. And I want to say one more note about that. We aren't letting people who have serious allegations of violence into those courts. Like if someone's charged with certain charges that involve violence, you're not eligible for the court. These are things where it's a low-level, nonviolent charge, and then they go into the court. So that's a whole different can of worms.
I think that's very wise to
Yes.
keep violent criminals out of those courts.
Mm-hmm.
There's another court I've read about, the Summit County Juvenile Court, and that's also to help the juveniles get through this situation that they're in.
Yes, so Summit County Common Pleas Courts, depending on what state, or what county you're in Ohio, they split up how they do their juvenile probate courts and domestic. So in Ohio, every county has a certain number of judges, and juvenile court, domestic relations, and probate are just a department of the Common Pleas Court.
Okay.
And in some counties, that gets split up. If the county is big, then there'll be a juvenile court, a domestic court separately, a probate court separately. In smaller counties where there's less judges and less people, a Common Pleas Court judge might be all of those.
Okay.
So like Medina, for example, their probate judge is a probate juvenile judge, but in Summit County, there's a different judge for each one of those divisions. So these are divisions of a Common Pleas Court, basically.
Okay. After being in private practice, what criteria did you use to finally decide to become a judge?
That's an interesting question. I loved being a lawyer. But right before I became judge, I won a case as a lawyer at the Ohio Supreme Court, giving childhood sex abuse victims more rights in court. That happened like right before I took the bench, but I had been campaigning for judge while I was a lawyer, and then you eventually get the opportunity to be a judge, whether you win an election or you get an appointment, and you have to make a decision there. But I thought I could do a lot of good as a judge, and I went for it, and I was right. I mean, I was able to affect a lot of people's lives in a positive way, and I could tell you about that. I've just had people come up to me and say, thank you for getting me sober. Thank you for taking the time to really work on my case. Thank you for holding someone accountable. I really, in the role of judge, people's lives are affected directly.
Okay. What are the qualities that a good judge should have?
I think number one, care about people, Because
I could see that.
even if you are at an appellate level where you're not seeing people every day, the things you're deciding affect people directly. They affect them with custody matters. They affect them with criminal matters. They affect them whether it's involving a business and high dollars. And if you're not thinking of how does this affect people at a person level, then I don't think you're thinking about the right things.
Okay.
I think you have to care about the law too, and
You
what
bet.
it says, and interpret it the way it's supposed to be interpreted. And I think you have to be a little bit of a legal nerd to be immersed in this all the time, and I am. So yeah, I think you have to care about your job, care about the law, and care about people.
Okay. What responsibilities do all judges have? And I think you've kind of answered that a little bit.
Yeah, I think we have a responsibility to care about people, but to also be involved in our communities, like my family and I are. If we have a conflict, we have a obligation to recuse from the case. We want the public to have trust in our role and what we do and the legitimacy of it. So I think that's an obligation for us to carry ourselves in a way that the public trusts that we're making a wise decision.
Okay. What surprised you about being a judge?
What surprised me? What surprised me about being a judge in municipal court, that's where I started, is
Okay.
how many people really do have substance use disorder and issues. Like I remember in Barberton that I would have people walk in at 8 in the morning and be drunk. And you don't realize that many people have that type of problem, that they're drinking at 8 a.m. So it really opened my eyes to that.
Okay.
And how that really affects conduct when you're high or drunk all the time.
Yeah, your judgment is gone. You've talked about how you've been in the judicial system and how you've gone through it. What court was the most challenging? You talked about municipal and common pleas. I would imagine you were in that, and also now Court of Appeals. What was the most challenging judge position that you had?
That's a complex question because each level had its own challenge. Each level has its own challenges. Okay. With municipal court, there's a lot of social work almost involved, and you're trying to get people to do certain things that maybe they're doing repetitively, but it's not necessarily a high enough infraction for me to be able to. I can't just put you at the jail for a long time or something, and nor do we have the resources for that. But it was a lot of managing behaviors and people and trying to do it within the certain parameters of sentencing and punishment. And it was just people. It was one case after another. There were days where I probably heard at least 40 cases.
Wow.
Like 5 minutes at a time, arraignments, hearings, and then while I'm hearing cases, I have police officers coming up to me asking me to look at a search warrant. I signed search warrants. I signed search warrants on Saturday. I signed search warrants in the middle of the night because the municipal judges typically do that. So it was a lot of people, a lot of work, a lot of things going on at once. Common pleas court, you're presiding over high crime. You're presiding over murders, burglary, robbery, and you have to be very careful about setting bonds and the safety of the community. And when you're presiding over a civil case, it's a high dollar case. It's cases maybe involving millions of dollars. So it's such a high stakes there that makes it sometimes challenging. The appellate court is I love the appellate court because I'm a legal nerd. Like I read my cases and I hear cases, and then I go home and I watch more legal type of shows, and I watched the Karen Reed trial. So a lot of that is reading, but then you don't have the people contact you used to have.
I see.
You know, you don't have the direct effect on people's lives like you do, and the direct people contact that you had at those other courts. So it's people you're reading about mostly, not people you're necessarily seeing in front of you.
Okay, so there's different challenges.
Yes.
And kind of hard to pick one.
Yes, exactly.
All right. What are your primary responsibilities as a judge in the Court of Appeals right now?
Well, I'm the administrative judge, so I hear a lot of the day-to-day things that come in, like the day-to-day motions, like to dismiss an appeal, and not the ultimate decider of the end of the case, but some of the day-to-day stuff. But mainly what I do is I do a lot of reading. I read briefs and writing. And then and I look at the evidence in a case and what unfolded. I talk a lot to my judicial attorneys at the court, and our main job is to get an opinion out about the case, like making a decision.
Okay.
And sometimes those decisions are 5 pages long, and sometimes they're 40 pages long. So there's these complex legal issues we have to work through. We have to make sure we know all the facts of the case, and we have to know what happened at the trial level. And so our main job is to make sure we know the record, that's what it's called, the record, and to write an opinion about what should happen with the case from that point.
Okay. The basic question, why are you running for the Supreme Court?
Well, I announced my candidacy in the fall of last year, and what prompted me to pull the trigger to run for the Supreme Court was that my family, we were victims of serious crime, and I got to see the justice system as a victim, and my family did too, and it made me realize that I can do a lot of good at the Ohio Supreme Court, especially with this view that I've just received. I announced my candidacy. The person that I'm talking about, the man who was involved with this crime, was sentenced to 4 years in prison, and I announced my candidacy either the day he was sentenced or the day after. So I had a lot to do to protect my family during that time, and then it also was related to the justice system, and I believe with my experience as a judge, it's over 10 years of experience as an Ohio judge, and with my experiences personally, that I can do good on the court and I see things at angles other people don't to make the justice system in Ohio better.
Okay, well, I think you have a video that kind of covers the situation that your family was in.
Right.
And I think the viewers will be seeing this video right now.
Okay.
In November of 2024, a man in a mask, carrying a gun, walked up my driveway toward my house. I happened to be sitting in my car. I yelled. He turned and he left. I told myself it was over. But months later, my 18-year-old son was home alone. That same man came back. And this time, he went inside my house. That's when I learned who he was. A criminal defendant who had stood in my courtroom when I was a trial judge. He already had a previous conviction for robbery with a gun. He was charged with felonies, given a high bond by one judge, but then he was released on a signature bond by another judge. Shortly after he got out of jail, he came straight back to my front door in the middle of the night, and he tried to get into my front door. He was charged again, this time with stalking me. He pleaded guilty to stalking me and other felonies, and now he's serving 4 years in prison. But for my family, the fear, the sleepless nights, the questions, they don't just go away. We experience the justice system not from the bench, but as victims. And it reminded me why the role of judge matters so deeply, why the rule of law matters, why constitutional rights must be protected for everyone. And that's why I'm running for the Ohio Supreme Court. Because what happens in a courtroom doesn't stay there. It follows people home.
Wow, that was that was the reason that I used the term courageous when when I described you. What are the primary responsibilities of a Supreme Court judge that you're running for?
It's similar to what I'm doing now, where we review cases and we decide the outcome of something. But usually it's the difference between the Supreme Court and the Ninth District is the buck stops at the Ohio Supreme Court. That means they get the final say on what's constitutional, they get the final say on the resolution of a case, and it affects the whole state. And they also, another big thing the court does is the Supreme Court the judicial branch makes all of the rules for the courts, like the rules of civil procedure, the rules of criminal procedure. So we also make sure the justice system runs fairly and competently and efficiently with our rules. I do want to go back to the video before we go to the next question. And I just want to say, thank you for calling me courageous. I think when you are a victim of stalking anyone, you have this feeling that you might want to lower your profile, that you might want to stop having pictures of your family up or take all your social media down. But I'm not going to let this person take my family's power away. And our power is to tell people about our experience and hope that it helps people and use it for good. So he is not going to take our power of that kind of message away from us and make our family lower our profile. Say that.
Okay. And this, I know the answer to this question. How is the Ohio Constitution different from the U.S. Constitution?
Oh, yeah, this is... well, the Ohio Constitution is much longer than the federal Constitution. The federal Constitution is the short document with our basic rights. And we all know I think most of us know those basic rights, like the First Amendment, Second Amendment. Yeah. Right to jury trial. The Ohio Constitution, I think most people know that watch this, hopefully, and that is, it's easier to change the Ohio Constitution than most states. So all we need is a 50% vote. We need people to get signatures, get something on the ballot, and then all we need is over 50% of the vote, and we have a constitutional amendment. And I think that's why our constitutional amendment is so long, is that it's easier in Ohio to change. And if you want to repeal something, for example, I think you would just get all the signatures and get it back on the ballot. So I couldn't even tell you everything that's in the Ohio Constitution. It's pretty long. I'd have to read it, what's been repealed, what's been added. Right now there's a constitutional amendment potentially getting on the proposal for a new constitutional amendment getting on the ballot this year potentially. So yeah, it feels like almost every other year we have something.
Yes.
But one of the things that got on the ballot, in the Ohio Constitution is Marcy's Law. So we'll get into that later.
All right. Tell us about the Board of Commissioners that you're a member of on the character and fitness characteristics, I guess, activities, and the grounds for rejection of an attorney. And you're a member of that, right?
I am. So the Ohio Supreme Court appoints lawyers and sometimes judges to be on this board. The Supreme Court appointed me to be on this board, and what we basically do is people apply to take the bar examination, and they meet a criteria educationally by graduating law school.
True.
But we also have to have a component where we're looking into their background and their integrity to make sure they have the character and fitness to practice law. So basically, if a character and fitness application gets flagged because someone has a criminal record or something where they were terminated from a job, then there's a group of us that look. We have a process where we look at the application and we determine if that person might need a hearing about that. And sometimes there's hearings, and then we sit on a 3-judge panel almost on that to decide if they're going to be able to take the bar or not, or if there's more they have to do. So we're just basically filtering through these applications to make sure that these applicants have the present character and fitness to practice law, and that they're not a danger to other people by being given a law license. So,
Understand. What are your goals as a Supreme Court judge?
one of my goals is to push a centralized court filing system in Ohio.
Okay.
Right now in Ohio, there are every county and every municipality within each county has their own filing system.
Okay.
And their own public docket. And that's frustrating for practitioners, legal practitioners, and the public, because say you want to know something that is supposed to be public record. Like for me, I wanted to know the stalker that I had. I wanted to know what his full criminal record was. Mm-hmm. When I'm a judge, I get to see that stuff in front of me, the criminal record, and when I'm setting bond. But when I'm the victim, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what his motive was for being at my home and keep coming back. So I had to spend time going to each county that I could think of that he could possibly be at to look him up specifically. And then I wasn't sure if he had misdemeanor charges in municipal court, so I'd have to look in those courts. And it shouldn't be like that for us Ohioans. We should be able to look up legal filings and legal documents in one place. One of the other things I want to say about that, this is really important to me, and a lot of people I think would like to see a centralized filing system, is at the Supreme Court, when they have their own filing system as well for cases, and when I want to follow a case at the Supreme Court, I can actually put my email address in, and they'll give me a text message, or not a text message, an email alert that something new has happened in that case, right? Well, most of these other filing systems in other counties don't have that type of feature. And if I'm a victim of crime and I want to follow a case to see what's happening with the defendant, I should be able to have a text alert or an email alert. We have that technology. But it doesn't just apply to victims of crime. It could be somebody who's not sure they're getting their certified mail or their mail in a case and they know it's happening. They could sign up to make sure they get it by email and make sure the right email address is there so they always know what's going on in their case. Or anybody who's interested in the case should be able to do that. It's not, this centralized filing system would be great for people like a landlord who wanted to see how many times somebody's been evicted without searching all over the state. For everyone, and hopefully we could get some kind of uniform rules about filing in Ohio and following the Ohio rules of civil procedure.
Okay, we have the technology to do it.
Yes.
And why be inefficient?
Exactly, and what my understanding is that most other states in the United States already have some form of a centralized filing system.
Okay.
It's not Ohio needs to hopefully explore this and realize that maybe it would be helpful to people.
Well, when you're a Supreme Court judge, you come back here and you can tell us about it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Should we be taking another approach with repeat offenders? You talked a little bit about that.
Well, one thing we're supposed to be considering in sentencing as judges is the safety of the community. Uh-huh. When you have repeat offenders, at some point, judges need to think about that they have to protect the community. And typically that means prison. Mm-hmm. So we already have a duty as judges to look at repeat offenders and say, how do we make the community safer?
Right, understand. Does punishment deter crime?
I think it depends on the person.
Okay. Agree.
There's people who learn the easy way. There's people who learn the hard way. And in the criminal justice system, there are people, no matter what punishment you give them, whether it's a long prison sentence, they will not change. They will still hurt people when they're out. Mm-hmm. And it takes some discernment and wisdom to figure out who those people are. And sometimes it's not that hard because their record shows that. But I've had people, the people that have given me the most thank you notes and thank you, talk to me personally, are the people that got a punishment, like a short jail sentence, and said, thank you, this this small jail sentence really turned me around.
Okay.
I kept getting breaks. I wasn't accountable, and when accountability happened for them, that's when they changed. So I do believe it depends on the person, and it takes a wise judge with some discernment to realize which people are which.
That psychology degree.
Yes.
And this is regarding drug violations. Do more successful judicial approaches exist for dealing with drug violations? And that's the drug court.
Mm-hmm. That's a hard one. That's a debated topic because there are certain drugs that the relapse is so high. But I think we always have to still be working at helping substance users, people with substance use disorder get help, because that will reduce crime if people get sober. I've seen it firsthand. When there are people, once they get sober, whether it's alcohol or drugs, that their behavior is changed. And even if they have relapses, that's a normal part of substance use disorder. If we can get them reined back in and have them get treatment again, we're putting somebody on a better path. So yes, but we can't confuse that. We can't confuse people who need help like that with people who hurt other people and are violent. That's another, I think sometimes that gets overlapped. I hate that because I hate the stigma of mental health equals violence. It does not. I could go on and on with that, but when people engage in violent and conduct that's unsafe to the community, that's a different, we're talking about something different.
Okay, understand. What is Marcy's Law? We started to get into that.
Marcy's Law is a constitutional amendment that's been added to a lot of states, including Ohio. It was passed overwhelmingly in Ohio. I think it's something like 80% of the vote, but it's supposed to be giving victims access to justice is the basic premise that we as victims, and I'm saying we because I'm talking about my own case, have the right to know what's going on in our case, to be present for court proceedings, to have a say when it comes to bond, to have at least to have the judge hear us on it.
Understand.
That's my issue lately in the court system is, are we making sure as judges that victims are getting access to justice? And that just means that they know what's going on in the case and are able to attend if they want to, or attend the way they want to. And there's ways that us judges can make sure that that their rights are getting honored.
Okay.
Without we're not advocates for the victim. We are making sure they have their basic rights, like we do with everyone in the justice system, and making sure they have access to justice. And it's good to be attuned to that as a judge. Okay.
Do viable alternatives exist for cash bail?
That's a good question. That question is such a good question.
I try.
Yes. So we have cash bail in Ohio, and other states have experimented with non-cash bail, and I don't think it went well.
True.
And so what is the alternative to that that's better? I don't know. Right now, we set if there's a certain factors, we set a higher bond. And I don't set bonds anymore. I'm in the appellate court. But when I was a trial judge, you're supposed to be following factors for bond. And then if the bond is, if there's a lot of factors for safety, not safe for the community, background things, then you would set a high cash bond. And I don't know if there is a better alternative than that. There probably is, but I don't know what that would be.
Okay.
But a lot of times, we're allowed as judges to give somebody no bond in certain cases too, and that would, then they can't leave because the jail at all until there's some resolution in the case, or never, depending on the outcome.
What advice would you give someone who aspires to be a judge?
Networking, going to events where you can meet people, whether it's people from the Republican or Democratic Party, if you're depending on which route you want to go, meeting people in the community, running for office, maybe a lower office, to see if you like campaigning, because that's part of being a judge in Ohio is that you have to campaign.
Okay.
I would say get trial court experience. I mean, most judges are trial court judges.
Okay.
And you should know how a trial runs and maybe have presided or been an attorney that had a trial, bench trial, jury trials. So that's the kind of advice I would give.
Okay. In summary, what's making sense to you and what isn't? Complex question.
Yes. In summary, what's making sense to me and what isn't. Well, in terms of my election, I think there's a lot of ways you can go with this question. I hope that people see me as a good candidate for the Supreme Court, and what makes sense to me is that you want a judge who has the experience to be on this court, both trial level and appellate level.
You bet.
And I am the most experienced candidate, judge-wise, Ohio judge-wise, and that is I've served over 10 years on the bench, and I'm the only candidate that has the experience in all levels of the judiciary. And as a lawyer, I actually practiced in front of the Supreme Court by winning a case for sex abuse victims. So I'm not sure any other candidate can say that.
Okay.
As well.
All right.
So that makes sense to me that people would be excited about my campaign. I hope they are.
Okay. How many elections have you been through?
Oh, wow. This is actually my 7th judicial election.
Wow.
I know, right? I first ran in 2013 against a Democrat incumbent, and I lost that election. And then I ran again against another Democrat incumbent the following year. Then I was appointed to the Barberton Municipal Court, and then I started winning elections by that point. So I've won several elections now at this point to get to where I am.
How do you usually campaign?
I meet a lot of people. I learn so much from people, and I enjoy people. So that's an enjoyable part of this campaign.
I could see that.
I do. I like right now in Ohio, I'm from rural Ohio originally, and now I live in a suburb of a larger city. But I'm going back to rural Ohio and seeing what their issues are and what they're talking about, and that's so interesting to me. And it's so interesting how strangers that you don't know want to help you. Like, they want to do things for you, and it's just touching, You get to know so many great people. You get to know other public officials. So I start with the people level, but you also have to have a plan to win at the end by targeting voters that actually vote.
Okay.
And so that's usually marketing and mailers and digital advertising. So there's multiple components to running for office, and one of them is the money and the raising money and getting your message out, and another part of it's the people part. And the people, they're both equally important to win.
Okay. How can someone get in touch with you?
You can go to my Facebook page. It's Judge Jill Flagg Lanzinger. Or you can email me at judgejilllanzingercommittee@gmail.com.
Right, and that'll appear on the bottom of the screen for people who want to get in touch with you. What's your campaign website?
judgejilllanzinger.com.
Okay.
And you can also contact me there.
All right. How can people support your efforts? Do you need volunteers?
Oh, always.
Always need those volunteers.
Really, we're in such a digital age, especially post-COVID and with all the invention of things. The biggest way is just share my Facebook page and share it with your friends. Social media is huge right now. It's been huge. Say something nice about me on social media.
Okay, all right.
But I also need people, like we have parades and things we do, put up signs, we still do all that, and whoever, if anybody wants to help with that, it'd be great.
Okay. Well, the people of Ohio should be grateful that someone with your background and character and qualifications is seeking the position on the Ohio Supreme Court. We should all be grateful.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. Please give us feedback on this show. If you have any questions, our contact information will be at the bottom of the screen. If you'd like to be on this show, or if you know an interesting person, please give us their contact information, and we'll take it from there. And remember, seatbelts save lives.